your team fall victim to the trap? The ACC is pretty top heavy this year, which means there's plenty of opportunities for upsets and trap games for all 14 members. And today, guys, that's exactly what we're breaking down. Taking a look at the trap game, biggest trap game for every single ACC team, seeing what these teams need to do to avoid the trap and which teams may be more prone and more susceptible to an upset later on this year. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad that you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the country, beating out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 5 years. And of course, check out everything else down in the description below. Got a lot of exclusive content there for you guys, because here at the Gridiron Expert, college football never dies. The season never ends, and we want you to become a part of our GE Nation. So let's take a look at some of these trap game guys for all ACC teams. The teams are listed in alphabetical order. We'll start at the top with Boston College. October 7th at Army, to me, is the biggest trap game for the Eagles. I mean, look, you're going up to West Point, going to Mikey Stadium. Army's not an easy place to play, nor are they an easy team to face because of how dangerous that triple option is. Especially very hard to prepare for on such a short notice. You know, teams that get to play Army off of a bye week tend to do a little bit better because they have 2 weeks to prepare for that. But off of a short week, only 1 week of rest, it's hard to face a team that runs that dangerous triple option. Army has certainly become a much more better football team and more competitive football team under Jeff Monken. So Boston College at Army, definitely a trap game there where I could see the Eagles slipping up to the Black Knights. Clemson, it's the season opener at Duke. And people said I was a madman for saying that Clemson could get upset at Duke. And again, we're not picking these upsets today, but Clemson needs to be careful of the Blue Devils. This is a Duke team that won 9 games last year, returns their star quarterback in Riley Leonard, will be hyped to be hosting one of, if not the ACC favorite in their season opener at home. It's a Clemson team that's dealing with a new quarterback in Cade Klubnik, a new offensive coordinator in Garrett Riley. This is a Clemson team that's still very, very good, but has a lot of key new pieces, more so unlike Duke. So this is the opportunity for Duke to pull off a massive upset, and if Clemson's not on their A game, could start the year 0-1. For Duke, it's a game at UConn. That sounds crazy too, right? But UConn is certainly a more improved team. This is a team that was one of the bigger surprises in all of college football last year, finally getting to a bowl game after being one of the worst, if not the worst team in college football for a few years prior to that. But you look at Duke, they cannot afford to sleep on the Huskies, who should be a little bit better in 2023. This is also a game for Duke right before they take on Notre Dame. Could see them looking ahead to maybe a bigger game against the Fighting Irish, hungry for another big upset, and then they could overlook UConn, who could pull off the upset of their own. So don't sleep on the Huskies. For Florida State, maybe the ACC favorite, certainly going to be the highest-ranked ACC team to start the year. It's a road game on October 28th at Wake Forest. The Seminoles have lost 3 straight games to Wake Forest, guys. So, yes, to me, this is a major trap game. A team that has their eyes set on an ACC title, a college football playoff berth. I could see them slipping up in Winston-Salem to a Wake Forest team that sure doesn't have Sam Hartman anymore, but does have Mitch Griffiths, does look pretty solid under center, and a Wake Forest team that seemingly always exceeds expectations under Dave Clawson. So Florida State, if they're riding high, if they're undefeated, a one-loss team, top 10 team, cannot afford to overlook Wake Forest, who I think is ready to pull off a massive upset this year. Georgia Tech, it's the October 21st game against Boston College. It's one of those things where neither team, I think, has major expectations this year, but the Yellow Jackets, under a new head coach in Brent Key, they need to win the winnable games. They need to win those winnable home games. Boston College is certainly one of them, but I could see the Eagles coming in. If their offense is better than we expect, and that certainly could be the case, they could give the Yellow Jackets everything they can handle as they're still going through some growing pains. So Georgia Tech, could win this game against BC. I think some would say they may be favored against BC, but don't be shocked to see the Eagles come in and pull off a big-time road victory as they try to get to the postseason. Louisville at NC State. It was a tough call on what trap game I wanted to give Louisville here, but I think the game at North Carolina State is the biggest one, because here's the thing. Louisville has a pretty favorable schedule to start the year, so much so they can start 4-0 under first-year head coach Jeff Brom, new coach. Alma mater. We know the whole story there. Louisville could get off to a very good start. NC State could be the one that ends it. Louisville shows up 4-0. They're riding high. They're ready to go. They're facing an NC State team that Doesn't have Devin Leary anymore. Does have Brennan Armstrong, but could be up and down a little bit this year. Certainly doesn't have as high expectations this year as they did at the beginning of last year. NC State and the Wolfpack could be the team, led by a stingy defense, that slows down Louisville and gives them their first loss of the year if the Cardinals do, in fact, start strong. But even if they're not 4-0, a 3-1 start under a first-year head coach is great. NC State can kind of slow down that momentum. So Louisville needs to be mindful of that road game at the Wolfpack on a Friday night. Miami, it's Louisville. That's their trap game, in my opinion. Miami, to me, didn't really have many good trap game options. So if you're a Hurricane fan, that's good to know, right? I mean, there's not many games I look at and go, ooh, they should be favored, but they need to watch out for this upset here. It's pretty cut and dry. It's either going to be a win or it's going to be a loss. Not too many 50-50 games, in my opinion. But this one against Louisville, I think, was a tough one here. If you look at Miami, this is a game against Louisville that's right after their game against Florida State. So big-time rivalry game against the Seminoles, a rivalry game where Miami has not fared very well lately. If Florida State torches the Hurricanes, like we saw last year, the year before, if they torch them, they could be a little hungover and drop this home game to Louisville. Would not be shocked to see that in the slightest. Or if it's a close game and they fall in a narrow, heart-breaking loss to Florida State, they might not show up for this Louisville game. So a lot of factors at play here on November 18th for the Hurricanes. To me, that's the biggest trap game where they kind of fall short at home after a emotional game, I guess we'll say, against Florida State the week prior. NC State, their trap game is at Virginia on September 22nd, a Friday night against the Cavaliers, and the Brennan Armstrong game. Brennan Armstrong was a Virginia great at quarterback, now the quarterback at NC State, hoping to kind of revive his career, finish his career strong. Had a really bad year with the Cavaliers in 2022, great year in 2021. Which Armstrong's going to show up for the Wolfpack? That's the million-dollar question. But now Armstrong going back to face off against his former team, a Virginia team that certainly looks to improve in year 2 under Tony Elliott, needs to drastically. To me, kind of is right for an upset, especially on that Friday night too. Those Friday night games, regardless of who you are always tough, especially if it comes on the road. North Carolina, this one's obvious. It's at Georgia Tech on October 28th. They fell to the Yellow Jackets last year 21-17, big time upset there, and fell to the Yellow Jackets 45-22 in 2021. That was a big upset there as well. So they have not fared well against the Yellow Jackets these last 2 years. Georgia Tech has North Carolina's number. Now with a revamped roster and hyped squad under Brent Key for Georgia Tech, they're facing a North Carolina team that maybe won't be that great on defense yet again. Offense is going to be great with Drake May. What's the defense looking like? The game's in Atlanta. Georgia Tech's hype. Got to watch out here if you're UNC to not fall for the third straight time to the Yellow Jackets. Pittsburgh, September 16th at West Virginia. It's the backyard brawl. On paper, Pittsburgh is the better team. Coaching standpoint, Pittsburgh is the better team. But last year that was the case too, and they barely survived West Virginia in Pittsburgh, winning 38-31 thanks to that pick six in the final minutes. Now they go to Morgantown. It's going to be rocking. It's a very, very tough place to play, regardless of who you are, but even more so because it's Pittsburgh and the backyard brawl. It's going to be a one heck of a game. But West Virginia, I don't think it's going to be that great this year. But I would not be shocked at all to see the Mountaineers win this game over the Panthers solely because of home field advantage and solely because they're getting hyped, looking for revenge from what happened last year in the season opener. So without a doubt, West Virginia, the trap game for the Panthers. Syracuse, October 26th at Virginia Tech on a Thursday night. Another midweek ACC game here. A Syracuse team that was pretty solid last year, made a bowl game, thankfully, for Dino Babers. It should be just about the same, if not a little bit better, heading into 2023. But Virginia Tech, certainly no slouch. I mean, they weren't great last year, but playing in Blacksburg is not easy at all. It's very hostile. It's very tough. And it's a Syracuse team that, again, on paper, looks to be the better team, but could see that as a trap game. Virginia Tech could be struggling, would not be shocked to see them pull off this upset over the Orange because of the home field advantage and because of when it is played. Virginia, September 9th against James Madison. No doubt about this one, right? This is a Virginia team that nearly lost to Old Dominion last year, also a member of the Sun Belt now. James Madison, one of the better Sun Belt teams, without a doubt. Was great last year. Couldn't go to a bowl game or anything because of the transition period. James Madison is going to be salty once again. There's no doubt about that. And if Virginia is sleeping and they haven't worked out their offensive struggles, especially with very many questions at quarterback right now, by week 2, they could lose to James Madison. I would not be shocked in the slightest to see that. So it's a major trap game. If you're Tony Elliott, you cannot afford to lose this game. You've got to get off to a strong start. That might not be the case, especially with Virginia opening up the year against Tennessee. Another game with James Madison, 0-2 start could be in the cards, and that would not spell good for a coach in his second year. Virginia Tech, their trap game's at Rutgers on September 16th. Look, this is a game Virginia Tech, they need it. Honestly, for Rutgers and Virginia Tech, they both need it. If these two teams want to go to bowling, they need this game. The winner of this game is going to put themselves in a solid position, maybe to get a little momentum early in the year and get to the postseason after disappointing 2022 campaigns. So Virginia Tech, I don't know if they're the better team than Rutgers on paper right now. Playing in Piscataway is not going to be easy, especially with the fan base a little bit more revitalized under Greg Schiano. It's a trap game. We used to just kind of write off Rutgers and say that's an automatic win. Not anymore. Cannot afford to overlook the Scarlet Knights, who I think could clinch bowl eligibility by mid-October if things go their way. And then Wake Forest closing things out also on September 16th at Old Dominion. We mentioned it's an Old Dominion team that I think has kind of exceeded expectations, at least from a competitive standpoint over these last few years. Nearly took down Virginia last year, took down Virginia Tech. It's possible that you could see them beat Wake Forest. Wake Forest has a new quarterback, no Sam Hartman anymore. First couple games aren't going to be too tough for them. This road game at Old Dominion, though, for some of these ACC teams, that's been where dreams come to die, or at least where your dreams have been very, very scared. Wake Forest, if they're not playing their A game, a Sun Belt team getting to host a Power 5 ACC team, that's not very common. The Monarchs are going to be ready to take advantage of that, and when Wake Forest is sleeping, they will lose that game. So there you have it, guys, your trap games for all 14 ACC teams. God, we're excited. We are excited to see it. It's a very top-heavy team. Clemson and Florida State lead the way. North Carolina certainly in contention. But some of these trap games will come to fruition. We will see a handful of upsets. We will see a couple teams fall to the trap. But the question is, who will they be and when will it be? We want to hear from you. Leave your comments and answers down below. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. And of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Because again, guys, here at the Gridiron Expert, college football never dies. The season never ends here at our channel, and we want you to take advantage of that and become a part of our GE Nation. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.